over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming. The drums coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over, over there, over there, over there. Send the word over.
Hey everybody, this is Joshua Littrell. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Honor Across Arms podcast. Today I'm joined by a wonderful colleague, Brian Denman. He's also an Air Force veteran. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good there, Mr. Littrell.
Awesome, sir. If you could give our listeners a little understanding of where you're at in the world. Where are you located?
All right. Well, right now I'm located in Warner Robins, Georgia. Born and raised here. Currently working out here at the Air Force Base right now. After I did some enlistment time, and after I got out, they hired me back here as a civilian, so I've been here employed since.
Oh, awesome. That's there, Robins Air Force Base?
Yes, sure is. Working in the Bioenvironmental Engineering Career field, too. I'm not too sure many people know what that's about, but we do a little bit of work in industrial hygiene and OSHA, radiation, environmental protection kind of stuff. Basically kind of like OSHA, EPA, and Homeland Security rolled into one big ball.
Awesome,
wear a little bit of different hats and stuff like that.
So tell us a little bit about the environmental protection, if you don't mind. That's pretty interesting. I think that's something that's maybe on people's minds a lot right now, too, where we see the global warming happening. What do you do on that aspect of it?
Well, we make sure we maintain the water systems for all the base facilities, whether it's people working here or whether people living on base. Make sure they have good, clean water. We do stuff like hazmat response kind of things. Disposal of hazardous material. It's wear quite a lot of hats for what we do, but primarily what our career field does these days are mostly OSHA kind of safety and health kind of stuff. So we're trying to protect the workers because in order to fight the mission out there, they have to maintain the planes. And here at Robins, they maintain some of the largest aircraft in the Air Force. So it requires a lot of maintenance, and a lot of hazards are associated with those kind of jobs. So we need to protect the workers as much as we possibly can.
Now, Brian, I understand that you're at Robins Air Force Base, which has a huge civilian population. Is that correct?
Correct. That's Robins Air Force Base is the largest employer in the state. Approximately, I'd say around 22,000 people work here out on base.
Wow, I can't even imagine trying to protect those.
It's and it's not just it's people live on base. It's we got military that are stationed out here. We got civilians that are stationed out here. We got contractors that work out here. So it's a very busy environment, and it has a lot of challenges associated with it.
So you talk about challenges. Let's talk about something real specific on that. You went from the military, and we'll get into your military service in a little bit, but to a civilian role. How was that transition? Was that a pretty easy, seamless transition for you? When we're talking to our listeners, I'm trying to let them understand what it's like to move from veteran status or from active duty status to a veteran status.
Okay, well, in order to do all that kind of stuff, you got to make sure you follow the proper paperwork with the proper agencies and get everything documented that you possibly need. All the jobs are basically hired through the USA Jobs website. You can find some contractor positions out here, but if you want to go into the federal service and roll your duty time over into your retirement, it's not hard to get in, but you do have to pay attention to details and what the requirements are.
Sure.
For me, working here, luckily I had developed enough professional relationships and being in the military that helps you develop a good work ethic. And when you have those two things together, it makes you very marketable, makes you very employable. And that's one thing about serving the military is very beneficial.
I don't think people understand the benefit that comes with learning how to articulate a message and how to respect authority, how to also work with people from different walks of life. Is that something that you had experience with before you came into the military? Had you been exposed to different walks of life?
Well, being born and raised here in Middle Georgia, we're taught a lot of things in school, but in the big picture things, not unless you get out there and you start doing things is when you're really going to be exposed to stuff. I've heard challenges from people who've just come in who've had a hard time, and I have people come in and it's a breeze. So
Sure.
I think for me, it was a little bit of both. That's one thing about military is they're going to put you in challenging situations, and they're going to try to get you to pull the best out of yourself. And that's when you have to take advantage of those kind of situations, and whatnot. So.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, we're joined today by Brian Denman. He's an Air Force veteran. Brian, if you'll tell us a little bit about when did you join the military and where did you serve at?
Joined the military, I think it was 99, just November 99. Went to basic training. Then my tech school for bioenvironmental engineering at that time was in San Antonio, Texas, which was pretty neat, pretty nice area. First duty station ended up being in Germany, Spangdahlem, Germany, which the base is still open there, but it's been parts of it have been shut down and whatnot. But they have expanded there significantly from what I keep up with it because it was
Sure.
As the area, I really enjoyed the area and whatnot.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Brian. So you go from Middle Georgia to Germany. I mean, how much of a transition and change was that for you?
Well, you got to think about, this is a culture change. It's a whole different thought process. They have different ideas and whatnot overseas, and there's language barriers. There's that you have to kind of work through. There's cultural barriers you have to work through. And serving overseas, not only are you serving your country, but you're also technically being a diplomat for your own country. So you always want to give off a good first impressions and represent your country well.
I think that's huge. People have
to
understand that, you being a diplomat and a representative of the United States, not only are you there serving as a military member, but you're there showing them what the United States citizen is supposed to look like, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, because you will go to some places and you'll have for instance, there was a place we went in France one time and we were kind of off the grid a little bit, and they've always had a bad idea of the dirty American, as they say.
Sure.
But the more we hung out and we socialized with people and we're in part of the community, they understand that it's not like that, So that was one good part I really enjoyed touring overseas, is just meeting a lot of the characters, whether it's just traveling or whether it's even work related. You have a lot of conversations about stuff about life, and you develop a lot of overseas relationships, whether it's people from that country or whether it's other people like ourselves that are serving overseas. So.
Well, I guess that's something that's really not talked about a whole lot too, is when you go from, stateside to overseas, it's a real tight-knit group, and you have to work together and you have to be together all the time. But I'm assuming that you're probably traveling together too, right? When you're getting out and seeing the countryside.
You do. Well, I mean, and being the holiday season is another thing to think about, is that, a lot of times when people are away from their families, so what do? Is you get around people, you make your own little family overseas, and you kind of get together during the holidays, or you get together and you travel, or you kind of make your own little family out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes all the sense in the world. And I guess that's why the overseas duty assignments, I hear a lot of people talking about how they just love it. They really enjoyed it. The base was a tight-knit group. And I think that's what it comes down to, is we're all in this together, right? You're thrown in.
And that's part of the military at all. I mean, you're going to get a lot of people who serve for different reasons, and they're going to be all from all different walks of life, different cultures, different races. And the thing is, we're all working for the same common goal. So that's what I like about it.
So think back to your time in Germany. What was if you had the best thing that you enjoyed the most about it, outside of the military? When we're talking about countryside, the people, can you think of something off the top of your head that just sticks out that you absolutely loved and enjoyed?
Well, I know in the military, when you do good work, the military will take care of you, and they will give you perks. They'll let you do certain things that most people can't do. And when I was over there, I got the chance to fly on a backseat F-16.
Oh, wow.
Fighter jet, which was pretty wicked, if you can imagine. It's kind of like
all right. I'm going to interrupt you there for a second, because I know not everybody just gets that chance, Mr. Denman. So tell us why you got that chance to ride in that F-16.
Well, in your organization, they give you all the tools to become a good worker or a good soldier, and if you take those tools and you continue to develop on those, it's going to lead you into good places. And luckily, I was able to win some awards, which progressed into some other things I was able to take advantage of, and definitely try to.
All right, so let's walk us through this flight, this incentive flight. That's what it's called, right? So you get notified. You're going to go on this F-16 ride. What kind of training did they have to do beforehand?
Well, beforehand, they kind of, they go and you sit in these the mock cockpits, that they have, and they kind of teach you the bells and whistles, and you sit in these, teach you where everything's at, basically, and kind of go over the scope of what to expect. thing is, I've heard stories of people who went before. It says, "Do not eat breakfast before you go because you will throw up." So I had to kind of starve myself that morning. And
Sure.
and I had somebody else that we flew with at the same time in another plane, which we actually went dogfight. We went to do some dogfighting over Ramstein, which was pretty wild.
Awesome.
And apparently she couldn't hold her lunch or her breakfast, and had a mess afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the whole thing about military. You're going to do a lot of things that, in the civil service, you're just not going to be able to see or do. And those experiences will be through your service to your country. So
yeah, absolutely. So on that,
not unless you win the lottery, but
yeah, so true. Are you taking out when you guys took off? Did you guys go straight vertical on that? Was that the incentive flight?
No, I couldn't do it. No, they do that here at Robbins. It's pretty wild because they go straight up and just till you can't see them anymore. But not over there. You can't because the base is so small, and you do have the community around you that you have to be considerate for. So
okay.
But dogfighting, it was either go look at some castles, or the guy says, "Hey, you want to go do some dogfighting?" I said, "Hey, let's go fly this thing." So he gave me a chance to fly it and do all kinds of stuff, and yeah, I'll never forget that.
Wow, man, that is an unbelievable memory. I know you'll never forget that. That's something that I think very few people would, and very few people get a chance to do that.
Correct, and it's not even just that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff with each branch is that they're going to take care of you as long as you come there and you dedicate yourself to your service and try to do your best. And I know it can't be perfect, but when you try to do your best and you give your a true effort, they'll take care of you.
Yeah, and I think that transfers over a lot to just normal life too. What we learn in the base in the military is that trust, obey, obviously, but understand too, but rely on the other airman, soldier, Marine, whomever, the sailor, whatever's beside you, you rely on that next person to you, right? And that's what it's about.
Their experiences, correct. Their experiences will be a little bit different, and that's where you kind of crosstalk and you learn from each other. And but I think for most branches, there's always a core values you need to stick with. For the Air Force, it's the integrity first, service for self, and excellence in all we do. And if you use that as your your foundation, you shouldn't have any problem as far as your career development, career growth, because you're basically investing in yourself. You're going to increase your communication skills, your team working. And it's going to challenge you. You're going to have to learn how to troubleshoot. You're going to have to learn how to research and problem solve, whether it's work related or whether it's personnel related. So, and those are very employable traits. So if you do decide that the military is not your thing or you retire, you have employers out there who actually really value those kind of characteristics. So.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you go first and foremost get some amazing training from the United States military. You are more prone to being able to listen, adapt, and overcome whatever issues you may have. But serving your country lends a lot of credence to the employers who are trying to hire when you get done with that, right? And that's a tremendous value and asset.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the part of it, because you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And I think there's some things that there's some training that we take here in the Air Force every year that a lot of people are like, more training, blah, blah, blah. And one of the most important ones I think about is the resiliency. They're talking about being a resilient person, whether it's professional or personal, to be resilient and be able to bounce back and handle tough times and become back better. And a lot of that comes through, having some type of self-awareness with yourself as well. So, you understand what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and what you need to work on sometimes. So.
Well, I think that's a huge point right there, Brian, that a lot of people don't pick up on is they want to try to be a jack of all trades, right? Instead of doing what they do and do it well, and then relying on other people who do things well that you don't do well. And that's teamwork to the core.
Correct. Absolutely. That's on every level about everything is teamwork. And definitely the military is all about teamwork from day one. So
absolutely.
There's no I in team, as they say.
So true. So tell us about the countryside of Germany, if you don't mind. Now, is it mountainous? Is it desert? What is it?
It's mountainous. It gets snow. Gets cold, kind of like I'd say, like probably up around northeast America, up around Boston and New York. It gets kind of that cold weather during the winter, but in the summers are really nice. They don't have AC over there, so it don't look like you don't have air conditioning. Unless you work like in the type of an office environment where they have computers or whatnot, but your typical home does not have air conditioning in it. So,
wow, that's so crazy to think.
And plus, they recycle. And their environmental awareness is a whole lot ahead of the game than it is where we're at right now too. So,
and you were there 15 years ago, right? And they were ahead of us back then.
Correct. Even back then, they were definitely. It,